Hi everyone and good morning. My name is Rebecca Sides and I'm the After Sales Director for Inchcape Mercedes Benz. This interview is for the 30% Club and I've been asked to give some details on my employment history and my educational history to date. So hopefully I can answer some of the questions now and give you a bit more of an insight into how I've got into the role that I have got today. So, as I've said, my name is Rebecca, I'm 36, I originally come from Wrexham in North Wales where I attended all of my schooling, and then I moved to Liverpool to attend university at the age of 18. So I originally went to an English speaking junior school, and then at the age of 11 I attended a Welsh speaking senior school, so I had to learn the language very quickly. Went into a learners group for the first 12 months of senior school, which was quite difficult if I'm honest, because didn't really have many friends and had to learn a new language whilst also learning languages such as Spanish and French, and then having to translate them into Welsh and then translate them into English. But got there and did very well in my GCSEs. Then I went on to study my A-levels at sixth form college at Ysgol Morgan Llwyd, which is the Welsh school in Wrexham. And then on from there I decided to go to university. Now the plan for this was never set in stone, and I suppose that's something that I do want to give a little bit more detail on. So I didn't always know what I wanted to do. I definitely always didn't know I wanted to go to university. But at the age of about 16, 17, I'd worked from a very early age. I'd been working in card shops, I'd done paper rounds from a very early age, I think about 9 or 10. I'd worked in shoe shops, I'd worked in card shops, I'd worked with my mum in her card shop, I'd worked in bars, I'd always worked. And as I was getting older and I was starting to earn my own money, I knew that business was something that I had a huge interest in. And whilst I was studying for my A-levels, which was business studies and English, I decided when I got my A-level results that, do you know what, I was going to just take the punt and go through the clearing process and apply to go to university. So I got my A-level results, I got the newspaper that day, I circled the courses that I think I'd be interested in, which were all in Liverpool. It was always going to be Liverpool, that's where I wanted to go. And I applied for the University of Liverpool and got accepted to the business studies course there. So that night I then packed my stuff, my mum helped me get all of my things ready, we bought blankets, quilts, all the things that you need to go to university. And I spent it was just over a month and a half in a basketball court room, sleeping on a mattress with many other students who also had gone through that process, who didn't have a space in university. So that was my first insight into the world of what university was. As I said, it was very unplanned. It was something that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do. I wasn't sure if it was something that I would get good enough grades for. I wasn't the cleverest student in school by any stretch of the imagination, but what I was very hardworking and very determined. I always had a big balance of work, so I was always working and I was always working towards my education as well, so that balance I've always had throughout life. So when the opportunity presented itself to me to go to university and to go through the clearing process, I thought, why not? So as I said, I decided to do business studies. I've always had a big interest in business, and I thought if I do quite a broad degree, then that would help me moving forward with any education that I decided to pursue after university, if so, and also any career that I decided to go into. So after about a month and a half, by the way, whilst also sleeping on this mattress in the basketball court, I fell over the mattress and ended up on crutches, and I think I tore the ligament in my ankle. I don't think I broke my ankle, I tore the ligament in my ankle, but basically I ended up on crutches. So just to say that beginning of my entrance into university wasn't very smooth. So yes, carried on with my degree. In truth, in the first year, didn't do too well. I was getting to know a new city, getting to know a whole new group of friends. Wasn't going home very often back to Wrexham. I was working. I started working straight away. I had a number of jobs whilst in university just to keep myself going, really. Again, I always worked, I always continued with my education at the same time. And at the end of my university degree, I came out with a great result. I was really pleased with the degree I got. And also at that point, I didn't know what to do with myself either. So it wasn't always a case of that I always knew what I wanted to do. And that's something which I think is really important for you all to know. It doesn't matter if you don't know now what you want to do when you're older, but what does matter is that you have a passion for what you really care about, and that you understand what things are important to you in life. So to go back to my university degree just for a moment, there was many ups and downs. The best thing about university for me was the people that I met, the experiences that I was able to have. Those friends are still friends with me now, absolute friends for life who I made there, very, very fortunate. And they've been a massive cornerstone of my life as I've gone forward, the people that I met in university. In terms of the work that I had whilst in university, I worked in bars, I did promotion work, I worked in a call centre where I ended up managing my own team whilst also studying for my degree, doing my dissertation. So I was working basically full time but every evening whilst also studying at the same time. So balancing the two was a bit of a juggling act, but it was really important for me to be self-sufficient and to be able to financially look after myself during university. So when I left university, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if to go on and do a master's. I didn't know if to go and look into a graduate scheme. I just really wasn't sure. So I've always had a passion for healthy eating, for healthy living. So at that time I decided to open up some juice bars, which I did. I did that for about 12 months, I think it was. And I thought that having my own business would make me really rich. I'd have loads of money. And I just thought that that was the right thing to do. And of course, having your own business, for those of you watching this who have got or have had your own business, it of course isn't a get rich quick scheme. It's something that takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and 24 hours a day your mind is constantly thinking about your business. I really enjoyed it. I took a lot of learnings from that, a lot of learnings. And then after about, as I said, 12, 18 months of doing that, I thought this isn't for me and I want to go into a corporate education stroke work environment. So I looked into what graduate schemes were available at the time, and I applied for the Aldi graduate scheme. So this was, I'm 36 now, so I was 22ish, so this was quite a while ago now. And at the time Aldi was an up and coming supermarket, which was, you know, a really good graduate scheme, but also a very difficult one to get onto. And I remember sitting in the office of the managing director at the time up in Neston and saying to him, you know, I'm not leaving this room until I've done enough to convince you that I'm good enough to get this graduate scheme. Note the words good enough there, because that's something I want to touch upon later on. So I ended up getting the graduate scheme. I was one of the 4 people to be taken into that intake for Neston that year, which I was incredibly grateful for. So I started that graduate scheme at, I think I was 22 at the time. And wow, that was a huge learning curve. You spent time in stores, spent time in the warehouse distribution, spent time managing, of course, multi-stores, because you go in as an area manager. That's what the role is. It's an area manager graduate scheme. So you learn a lot very fast, and that was really good for me. It taught me so much, really threw me into a corporate working world, and allowed me to apply a lot of the things that I learned in university into a working business environment. So a lot of the modules, a lot of the principles, a lot of the legal stuff which I learned in university, a lot of the accounting, finance side that I learned in my degree course, I was really able to see that being applied in a business environment, which was really good. So I did that for about 18 months, but unfortunately during that period of time I'd injured my stomach. I'd injured my intercostal muscle in my stomach, and I wasn't able to do a lot of the manual lifting in the store. That wasn't really, the main reason for leaving that role, but I just wasn't, I suppose, happy. I didn't feel I was getting exactly what I wanted out of that graduate scheme as the time was progressing on. It was an absolutely amazing opportunity, and for anyone who gets the opportunity, take it with both hands, because it was absolutely amazing. But deep down there was a grumbling inside that wasn't offering me what I wanted in terms of necessary. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. Now, from a very young age, I've always loved cars. Absolutely always loved cars, and been brought up around vehicles. When I first went to university, I was going to auctions, buying cars, getting them valeted and then selling them on just to make a little bit of a sideline of income. And I've always had a passion for Mercedes Benz, always. It's been a brand that I've been aware of from a very young age, and it was something that always signified class to me, a real level of high class. So whilst I was working for Aldi, I thought to myself, okay, I love cars, I'm good at selling, I've got a bit of a gift of the gab, I can talk to anyone, I'll go and sell cars. So I decided to walk into Mercedes Benz in Liverpool. I had a pinstripe suit. For anyone who's followed my journey, you'll see this story on a number of articles that I've either A, written or B, been asked about. And I'd bought a pinstripe suit from Next. This was my key pinstripe suit. I remember I wore that to my Aldi interview. I actually still have that suit. I wonder if it still fits me. It's still upstairs in my wardrobe. So I put my best suit and I walked into Mercedes Benz Liverpool with my CV, and I asked to be seen. I asked if there was any opportunity there for me to speak to somebody so that I could see if they had any vacancies. So of course they weren't expecting me to come, so I had to wait, but I did get seen, and as the story continues, here I am today, nearly 14 years on from that first day. I'm still there. Now, I suppose to just draw those experiences into how I've ended up where I am, which I think is really important. The degree that I decided to do was business studies. So my A-levels were business studies and English, but I chose to be quite broad in the degree that I took and the educational path that I took, because I knew I was interested in business, but I didn't know specifically what area. I didn't know if it was marketing, I didn't know if it was HR, I didn't know if I wanted to go into management, I didn't know if I wanted to go into sales. So for me, taking quite a broad degree, it enabled me to then have a view of a lot of areas of business, which then enabled me to have a taste of an area that I might like. In terms of the experience that got me to where I was in cars, that was led by passion. So that was something which I wanted to do rather than something that necessarily I studied for. So when I was choosing my university degree, I didn't link that directly with cars, but I linked it with a knowledge that I had a thirst and an experience for knowledge of business. So that's something where if you're in that position now where you're thinking, okay, what do I want to do in university? What do I want to do when I'm older? And you don't necessarily know. Lead with what you're passionate about, and then take a course or take an education path which gives you a broad idea of lots of areas of business. That's a really important lesson that I've learned over the years. If you're doing something that you're passionate about, if you're doing something that you enjoy, if you're doing something that you want to do, it doesn't feel like work. And that's why 14 years later, I suppose I'm still where I am. So what I suppose I'm trying to say here is that throughout my education, throughout my career, and even to date, I've questioned myself over if I'm good enough to do things, if I'm good enough to receive job promotions, if I'm good enough to receive specific roles. And that has been the one thing that throughout my life to date, I suppose, has been something that if I could get hold of that, massage it a bit and make it go away, I probably would. But then I think without that, would I be where I am? Because that good enough complex has always made me want to work harder, want to be better, want to do well. And I think that's really important, that as a life lesson, looking back from the young woman that I was to the, I'll keep saying young woman that I am now, it's really important to care for yourself and to look after yourself and to make sure that you do believe in yourself, because ultimately you're always going to be your own biggest promoter. That's something that's really, really important to take away. In terms of personally in my life, I'm a mum. I've been a single mum now for quite a long time, which has been the majority of my, I wouldn't say the majority, but quite a lot of my working career with Inchcape has been as a single parent. And Inchcape have been phenomenal in supporting me through that journey. Absolutely phenomenal. I would not be in the role that I am now without the way that the company supports me. Most definitely not. From flexible, start and finish times sometimes due to school pickups, etc., etc. So when you're looking for an employer, find a company that works with you and who supports you and who believes in what you're capable of. Because working a 9 to 5 is not the real world. It isn't. People need flexibility around their lives. It may not be because you're a single parent. It could be for anything, and you could be a man or woman who's a single parent. It doesn't matter. The fact that I'm a woman has got necessarily nothing to do with that. But the company have just been so supportive of me, and everything that I've ever needed, that they've been there to support. So that's really important when you're looking for an employer, to find someone who recognises your talent and who believes in you enough to support you if you need that element of flexibility. That is really, really important. In terms of personally as a young woman, there of course have been many times I've questioned myself. I spoke a couple of times now about this good enough thing, and that is whereby it's something that has always kind of pushed me harder, pushed me to work harder and smarter, to make sure that I've been able to accomplish maybe what I didn't think I was capable of in the past. So if you do have little demons in your mind that sometimes make you worry, turn them to your advantage. Make them work for you rather than allowing them to take over how you operate or how you think or how you act. Because it's those little voices within you sometimes that make you question if you're good enough, or if you can, whatever field that you're in, if you're capable enough to do that. It's those little voices that push you on that little bit harder. So that isn't something that I think would make you worry. In your shoes, if there was something that I would say to you to do now which will help you get a role in the future, I would say again, come back to that, find something that you're passionate about, spend time really learning and embracing that area or that field. And then if it's something which you love doing, learning isn't a problem. You enjoy doing that, you enjoy learning about it, enjoy reading up about it. Sales for me is literally a way of life. And for me to be in the role that I am now, in terms of, I've had promotion. I started as a sales executive, and I'm now the after sales director for the Inchcape group for Mercedes Benz. And that is such a huge accolade for me, and I'm nowhere near finished yet with where I want to go in my career. But for me to be able to be where I am now, it's because I'm passionate about what I do. I don't mind working late. I don't even see working late as working. I just see it as just Rebecca. That's just my life. That is what I do. But what I would say is that find something that you really care about. And also, I have a driver in my life who's the most important person in my life, who's my daughter. And it's really important that she sees that I'm capable, so that she sees that people can achieve anything if they work really hard. So whatever your circumstances in life are, use your toolkit, use your life circumstance to enable that to take you further in life. But what the main thing I want you to take away from this is that you can achieve anything at all that you put your mind to. You really, really can. I'm testament to that. I like I said, I wasn't the smartest in the school. I didn't get the best degree result out of everybody in university. But what I have done is I've really committed to something, and I've made it my all to really achieve and do well at that. And like I said, I'm not finished yet with where I want to go. But if there's anybody at all who wants any questions answered, any further support, by all means, I would love to help. So please reach out, and I'll make sure that I come back to you and help you all personally, if at all possible. There may not be an answer which I can have to give, but hopefully through some experiences I've been through in terms of career, I'll be able to help. But yeah, find something that you're really passionate about, work towards that, and always remember you can achieve anything at all if you set your mind to it. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.